Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to my initial Pacific review. The Pacific's been out for a couple days now and I've put quite a lot of time into it, both streaming for drops over on twitch.tv/HeyQuadro. Make sure you guys are following over there for those cool drops, and as well as just in my own time playing the Pacific. Just for reference, guys, I'm about level 17, I think, for the US and level 12 for the Japanese. So anything in here is kind of subject to change just based on the campaign kind of maturing and how the game kind of changes as the Pacific continues to exist, right? The meta kind of shifts around, but I think that most of this is going to remain the same. And so I wanted to get this video out there going over my Pacific good, bad, and the ugly. So guys, let's jump into it. Starting off with the good, of course, guys. Maps. Maps are fantastic in this campaign, with the exception of Tanaru River. I hate you, Tanaru River. The maps, though, they're unique. They're fun. It doesn't feel like I'm just playing in, Tunisia, but jungle. They're great. Like, I really don't know what else to say about it. They're just good maps. I like the maps a lot. I think that they are well balanced. They're unique. This campaign feels like it is very distinct from the other campaigns within the context of Enlisted. A lot of Enlisted, sometimes it just feels like I'm playing the same campaign regardless of which campaign I'm actually in. And this campaign doesn't feel like that. This campaign feels very distinct and very unique compared to the other campaigns within the game. And again, that's just such a breath of fresh air, I suppose is the best way to put it, playing this campaign. The maps, they're big. The gray zones are big. They allow you a lot of room for flanking. Obviously, we still have some problems with the gray zones for tanks and stuff, but that's a separate issue that exists within the game anyway. The objectives are very, very large, which can be a double-edged sword sometimes, but overall, I think that it's a good change to have larger objectives as opposed to smaller objectives. It really cuts down on the high explosive spam within the context of the game. So it's really good. I don't know. The maps, I love. Some people are complaining about defender bias and how the maps are too defender-sided. I don't know what the hell those people are talking about. Like, I have no problem attacking in this game, at least on most maps. Some of the maps, like Tanaru River, again, really hard to attack on. But, I mean, it's like one map, right? Some maps are going to be harder than other maps. That's just the nature of games. And I don't know where people think, like, what games people play that don't have defender bias. I mean, I'd love to hear about those games. I have no idea what the hell you guys are talking about. So, overall, great maps. Love it. Next up is gear. Gear in this campaign is fantastic. The balance is awesome. The asymmetrical kind of feeling between the campaigns is great. It doesn't feel like I'm just playing in Normandy for the Allies. It doesn't feel like the Japanese are underpowered or I'm just playing as the Germans. They both feel like very distinct factions in Enlisted, which just further is fantastic. The Japanese have very good submachine guns and bolt actions. The Americans have a great LMG and fantastic semi-autos, as well as probably a slight advantage when it comes to tanks. Overall, guys, very well asymmetrically balanced. Both factions have their pros and their cons, and you really have to learn them to be able to play the campaigns well and to play the factions well. And there's good decisions inside the campaigns as well. You kind of get a lot of decisions on what you want to bring. The Japanese, for example, can bring the 5-round semi-auto and trade a lot of long-range firepower for that close-range firepower, as opposed to, like a bolt action. While the Americans get the grease gun, which I think is kind of has worse weapon handling as compared to the Rising, but it has a larger magazine capacity, right? 32 versus 20. And so you get a lot of these decisions throughout the campaigns on what you want to bring and what you might think is better. And it leads to a lot of interesting decisions. And I think that that's lacking in Enlisted right now. I think there's a lot of weapons and unlocks in Enlisted where it's just kind of like, yep, this is the gun to use. And you just put it on all of your soldiers and it's just a direct upgrade. And you don't have a lot of decisions there. Not the case in the Pacific. I think that they did a great job of balancing out these campaigns and overall making it feel like you have a lot of decisions. And both factions are very unique and different from one another. Next up is the new mechanics. New mechanics like bonsai charging, white phosphorus, your commander being able to peek out and shoot his gun. All of these are great. very, very happy to see these. I think in Enlisted, a lot of the mechanics that have been added in the past, like mines or shovels, have just kind of been gimmicky, and they've either been way too obnoxiously powerful, like mines, where they're just really frustrating to go against, or shovels, where they're just really gimmicky and they're not really that effective most of the time. Even though they might be interesting, they just don't really serve a purpose. The bonsai charging and white phosphorus grenades, while not the most powerful, they are very, very fun, and they can be very effective when you use them in the right way, which is just absolutely fantastic. It's also very cinematic. I think that it adds a lot when you're bonsai charging through, these white phosphorus grenades that are exploding around you, and you're just charging through them and stabbing some American on the other side. Or alternatively, whenever you're playing as the Americans, or you're using even the Japanese as well, whenever you just run out of ammo in a magazine and then there's a guy in front of you and then you just bonsai charge at him, most of the time, yeah, you just get gunned down. But those times that you do get that bonsai charge off and you manage to stab the guy and then reload and then go on a killing spree from there, it just feels really, really good. And especially whenever you just go on massive bonsai charge, like murder sprees, where you're just charging around the map and stabbing everybody. It's just a lot of fun, and it feels really good. And I'm really glad that they added these mechanics in. They're great additions to the game, and they make the game feel very, very fun and cinematic. Next up, guys, vehicles are crap. Vehicles in the Pacific are really not that good. We're going to talk about SPAA later, but generally speaking, the level of vehicles and the power level of vehicles in this campaign is very, very low. It's very infantry focused, which is great. Infantry is the lifeblood and the soul of Enlisted. I know a lot of you players out there are dedicated vehicle players, and that's fine. But the reality is that 80% of players in an Enlisted match are playing as infantry, or I guess at most 70%, sure, or at minimum 70%. The majority of players are playing as infantry, okay? Screw you guys. You know what I mean. Infantry is what most players are playing as, and you need the infantry to feel good, and it does in the Pacific. I can say that in the Pacific, it's probably the only campaign in the entire game that I will actually say is 100% infantry focused, which is great. That's not to say that vehicles don't have a purpose. It's not to say that vehicles are just completely thrown to the side, but it just means that infantry are the stars of the show, and as they should be. And that is absolutely fantastic to see. It's something that I really was missing from the other campaigns, and I'm glad to see it here in the Pacific. Next up, guys, drops and the player base. They're doing a great drop event on Twitch. Definitely check out. This is more of just kind of a thing of, I'm glad to see so many returning and new players. I've seen so many people who I haven't seen in months, and I'm just glad to see the community really coming together and playing this campaign. A lot of people love it. It's a lot of fun. Everyone is having fun in the campaign together, and it's a really great thing to see. So glad to see it. Very, very exciting. I won't speak too much on that. Just a general idea of, I'm glad the game is growing. I'm glad people are enjoying it. It's not just complaining the way that we saw with Stalingrad. It's a good time. Next up, guys, the bad. We do have to talk about the bad. There's not that much, but it is important to note. Starting off here with planes. Guys, planes in the Pacific are really, really bad. Like, horrible. And I know I just mentioned the infantry being the focus, and that's true, and they should be, but planes are so bad that even I, who think planes need to be completely reworked, and I think planes are a really bad thing in Enlisted, think that they need to be buffed in some capacity. I mean, they are absolutely garbage. The Pacific was a very important theater. There was lots of naval and aerial fighting. I think that planes are in way too sorry of a state to be for a campaign as important as the Pacific. So I'd like to see them buffed in some capacity, even if it's just moving the rearm stations a little bit closer. It would be really good to see that. Next up, guys, servers. Hoo boy, we saw this coming. Servers have been bad, and part of this is the DDoS attack. Someone is DDoSing the Enlisted servers supposedly. That's terrible, and that's horrible, and that is not on Darkflow. That's something that happens a lot of the time, and it sucks. And again, I don't blame Darkflow for that. But regardless, of the DDoS attacks, I think servers are going to be in a rough place. There's just so many players coming in. There's so many people trying this campaign out and playing the game that there have been definitely some server hiccups. I would really like to see this smoothed over, by Darkflow coming up here in the future. It'd be really nice to see. But that's it for bad, guys. I really couldn't think of a whole lot for bad, but there is one last thing we got to talk about. The ugly. SPAA is the ugly duckling of this campaign, guys. It is rough. SPAA, I can say with certainty, was a mistake in its current implementation. Guys, it is painful. It is absolutely painful to deal with these SPAA, and most of us knew this was going to happen. I mean, you added basically infantry, like, meat choppers to this campaign. I mean, goddamn, it's brutal. And even with the nerfs that have happened, they nerfed SPAA almost immediately, and now we're getting this kind of warped thing where other campaigns are suffering because of the warped balance in the Pacific regarding the SPAA. Like the German MGs now overheat really, really fast in the other campaigns because we had to nerf the MGs and the overheating times in this campaign in the Pacific. So now everything overheats really quickly, and like 50 cals don't overheat in 2 seconds the way they do in Enlisted right now. It's just, they have to do this because they need the campaign to function in a way, and SPAA was way too strong, but it's just, we're getting this warped meta, right? And it's affecting the other campaigns. I just don't think SPAA really should have been added. Most of us thought this way. Most of us thought that it was just going to end up mowing down infantry, and that's exactly what happened. Anybody that's played this campaign knows how absolutely brutal the SPAA has been. Can't tell you how many times I've had my whole squad mowed down by those twin 50 cals of Doom or that 20mm cannon on the Tasse. It is brutal. So, but guys, if that's really the only thing, if the only thing I can think about as being a huge deal in the Pacific is the SPAA, man, it's a good campaign. I got to give it a 9 out of 10. I got to give it a 2 thumbs up from me. This is quite literally the best thing to happen to Enlisted in a long time. But that's my review for it, guys. What do you guys think about it? What do you guys think about the Pacific? What is your Pacific good, bad, and ugly? Do you guys agree with me? Or do you guys think that I'm pretty off base here? I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts in the comments below. And as always, like and subscribe. It does help me out, and I do appreciate it, guys. But without anything else, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy.